Right. A lot of you have seen on my page, I put a lot of posts on mental health as well as training, and I've never actually explained my story or how I got into coaching or anything like that. So this is going to be a bit of an excerpt on how it all begun, like how I become StrengthGod, how I developed into who I am today. So growing up, I'm a single child. My mum used to get battered and by my dad, and she got my dad threatened to kill her. Said he'll kidnap me if he ever see me on the street, all that shit. And so I grew up with me mum, my nan, and my granddad. So growing up, me nan's an alcoholic. So my nan used to fight against my mum every day, as you can imagine, domestic shit. When I was 6, I seen my uncles try and strangle and kill my nan, which is a bit of a heavy memory. Like growing up, because me dad said he'll kidnap me if he ever see me on the street. I was never able to go out the house on my own until I think I was like what, 11, 12, 13, something like that. So I never really had many friends. I used to just be on my own all day, every day. My mum had me at a young age, so she wasn't like emotionally adept at like even being there for me, like giving me love and attention and affection. So it was just me and by myself growing up. As you can imagine, this led into me being not quite right, which explains the mental health stuff, the tattoo, etc. Got bullied through school, as you can imagine. Went through school, turned 18, and just went fuck off and rebelled and found steroids and cocaine. Um, Went down the route of that side of life, shall we take it, regarding the coke and steroids. Found loads of people took coke, and I was like, that's interesting. So went down that route. I was 19, and I ended up getting jumped in Liverpool, and ended up with a school. Well, I got mugged for my phone, and for the oldies amongst us, it was a BlackBerry Bold 9900, and I got cracked from behind. My head bounced off the pavement, and I ended up with a skull fracture and a brain bleed, which I didn't even find out until a month after because the hospital refused to give me an MRI. Just kept saying it was a concussion. And imagine like the worst headache you've ever had, and it just never went. And that's what it felt like. It was luckily my brain got rid of the blood, so here I am. Like I didn't need an operation or anything like that. After that, I remained heavy on drugs, everything else as you can imagine. Continued going down that path, and I ended up in a severe motorbike crash when I think I was 21, 22. Um, I was racing against a friend down Rock Retail Bypass, and he cut in front of me last minute. And I believe I come off about 70, 80. Don't tell the police off. And like, because I had amnesia at the time, I didn't remember anything. So I believe I come off around that speed, hit the deck, knocked out, went across the road, bounced around like a rag doll. And I woke up on the floor. The first thing I done was I looked at my toes and wiggled them around. I was like, fuck, like my spine, like I don't have any nerve damage, thankfully. Put myself on the stretcher, the ambulance and all, I thought I was going to be dead. My mates thought I was going to be dead. Woke up with blood coming out my mouth, my face was white, my eyes were open. And then, yeah, I walked away from it. I had a MRI, CT scan, about 5 x-rays and no major injuries. The girls with at the time ended up leaving me because she couldn't understand why my mental health deteriorated from it. Because I couldn't work, couldn't train, debts building up, lost me access to my transport. I was in a bit of a fucking shit way, to be honest. So she ended up leaving me, and I got quite heavy on coke at that point. I was snorting 3 or 4 days a week, just lying in bed because like it made me realise and I discovered shortly after that my problem was being in the house because it was so much domestic, there was so much shouting, there was all that. Like it wasn't a peaceful environment for me. So as soon as I had a bad day, because I didn't have my place to relax, I just done a line, and that was my place to relax. So I just go, and then just lie and just drift inside my own head and release a dopamine was my happy place. Um, Next girl I got with didn't last very long, and she left me for the same way. She couldn't deal with my mood swings, so I got even heavier on coke at this point, and attempted suicide. So one of my posts says this quite a while back. Um, when I attempted, I brought a rope and a blade from the B&Q in Walsey and rode about half an hour to Delamere Forest at 120 at Coxstar through rush hour traffic. She rang the police, rang everything else, and yeah, I got there, I rang her up, crying my eyes out. I don't really know how I even made it without crashing, to be honest. And the police come and see me, took for emergencies, psych check, etc. Ended up seeing a doctor, and he told me that he's surprised I lasted this long. It was around this time that I kind of learned I wasn't, like I always knew I wasn't quite right, but this was the point where I was like, fuck, like, you've got some issues, you mate. So moving on from that, went up and down, as you can imagine, then fucked off to Australia, and that was when my life and my mental health kind of started to develop, and I started to realise from that point onwards that all the emotional habits and developments that I've built up through the years was not normal. Like extreme emotional reactions, that's not a normal reaction, and I grew up believing it was. So when I went to Australia, I stopped drinking, I stopped drugs. I think I stopped at steroids at that point as well. I went completely clean off everything, and then came back after the year, went back on juice, but on really really low doses, and then moved forward. So like, don't get me wrong, I wasn't a perfect person at that point, but I was developing, and it was up until about 3 years ago. Like the partner I was with at the time, I wasn't the nicest person to. And looking back now, it's made me realise the type of person I was and the type of person I don't want to be at these times. So moving forward, I lived in London, lived in New Zealand, and I realised in New Zealand that I needed to level myself up mentally, mindset wise, for me to become a better person. And that kind of leads into today and where we are now. So how does this transfer through to my coaching?